Now, Matzi did not know colors could have so many different names, and he definitely paused at Burleywood. But he knew Zadie was the wisest Zadie he had ever known. And if Zadie said Burleywood, it was Burleywood. Mazadi said that there were even grains which shone as if gold and copper. Who could ever believe, really and truly, gold and copper? One day, Matzi thought, he would see this through his own eyes, but now it was great to see it through Mazadi's eyes. The pouring of the water, Zadie says, has the most tremendous effect. Now it is difficult to tell where one grain starts and the other stops. Zadie says all the matzo are the same, but oh so different. After the blending, each matzah is delicately shaped into totally unique balls. Then the matzah maker pauses, reflects, and gives each matzah a unique and singular name, a name which is both old and new. Now each matzo ball is pleased to be free to roll about, but knows he must stay close to the matzo maker. Matzi thought how Mazadi loved to tell this part of the legend. Mazadi would ask, "Now, my little Yori, dear one, how do we know we should stay close to the matzo maker?" Matzi would answer on cue, "Because the matzo maker ingrained it in us." Ha 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 ha, Mazadi would then roll about with amusement. It tickled Matzi to see his Zadie so happy. Also, Mazadi says the matzo maker tells them that they are part of something special. Mazadi calls it a long, funny, great big word. In fact, every time Matzi tries to pronounce it, he giggles. The long, funny word is mishpacha. He giggled again. Mishpacha. Matzi paused from his dismay and reflected on Mazadi's words. Grains of sand and mishpacha. Matzi shrugged and thought, I still do not understand everything. There were other things that confused Matzi. Like Mazadi said, all the matzo were to be humble and never get puffed up. He called it humility. More confusion. Be happy, Mazadi said, and absorb all the goodness around. That is how we are made. But what happened to him earlier could not be good at all. How could any matzo make another matzo feel bad and cry? Matzi's eyes became again moist. And why did Mazadi say that matzo life was too short to cry over spilled milk? What did milk have to do with matzo? Matzi remembered when he told Mazadi of his confusion. Mazadi said rather simply, Matzi, one day you will stare into the depths of life's soup and it will all become crystal clear. At this point, that really seemed the very least of Matzi's concern. He was deciding which way to roll, and suddenly it came to him. Mazadi used to say, if you ever faced a difficult choice, always choose right. Great! I I will go right, and right he rolled. Just as he began to make his right roll, Matzi felt a tremor of what seemed like an earthquake. Now there was a loud, thundering rumble. He braced himself. Just as he closed his eyes, he saw a great shadow hovering over him. "Oh my, it must be the matzo maker. He has missed me and is searching for me." Although Matzi was very nervous, he felt a smile in his heart at the thought of someone actually missing him. How nice to be missed by the matzo maker himself. "But I am so small, so puny," Matzi thought as he remembered the words of one of the great big matzo balls. What was it? "Little itty bitty teeny tiny matzo. Who would even know I was gone? Maybe the matzo maker doesn't miss me at all. Perhaps he too thinks that I was too small to be of any use. Besides, I do not even have a real name." Matzi was overwhelmed with all the loud thoughts. I must find Zadie. Yes, he wanted his Abba and his Ima, but Zadie would really understand. He will have all the answers. He will tell me why I'm so teeny tiny, and why the Great One said such awful things. Again, tears filled his eyes, and off he rolled. Whee! Splat! Off he rolled indeed. Why, his eyes were so filled with tears, he rolled right off the flat, hard surface onto an even harder surface below. That, Matzi made a mental note, was an awful landing. Yikes! The hovering shadow reappeared. Matzi rolled and rolled and rolled. Always roll right, he thought, and then he came to an abrupt halt against a hard surface. Matzi stared. This surface moved when he rolled into it, unlike the other hard surface beneath him. So desperate he was to get away from the matzo maker and hide that he had rolled forward with all his might and over a great hump which seemed to separate one area of the hard surface from the other. Matzi looked in astonishment. It was like he had entered another dimension. Matzi completely forgot his escape as he stared into the mysterious space. It was a roomy place with 3 sides bearing little landings and cubby spaces all the way up to the sky almost. I wonder who lives here, he thought. Suddenly Matzi let out a piercing "Ow!" He glanced up and saw nothing but an army of 10 soldiers staring at him. Horrified, Matzi whispered, "Zadie, what's my real name?" With that, his eyes closed, and he fell into a deep, exhausted sleep. End of The Great Escape, Part